Weekend Whirlwind. Tessa, a spirited Italian-American woman with sparkling green eyes, returned home after a demanding week at her job as an event planner. Though she might not turn heads like a supermodel, Tessa had a vivacious personality that kept people attracted to her. With her flair for brightly colored clothes and a talent for making others laugh, she had become quite popular in her circle, especially among women. One of the new hires at the event planning firm had caught her attention, a striking brunette named Kyra, who exuded an effortless charm. They had shared a few conversations over coffee, and after Tessa playfully complimented Kyra on her stylish attire, they quickly bonded over stories of past relationships, some successes, some disasters. The chemistry was palpable, and before long, they exchanged phone numbers, with Kyra claiming she needed Tessa's fashion advice. As Tessa flopped onto her plush couch Friday evening, she couldn't help but daydream about the weekend. She had plans, or rather, a desire for a weekend full of relaxation to recharge after her hectic week, maybe curled up with a book and her favorite snacks. Suddenly, a knock at the door startled her out of her thoughts. Setting her glass of wine down, she opened the door, a curious smile spreading across her face. "Hi, Tessa," Kyra said, standing in the doorway wearing a snug green dress and combat boots, her striking hair falling casually over her shoulders. "Oh hey," Tessa replied, stepping aside to let her in. "I wasn't expecting you. I figured I'd get a closer look at the amazing wardrobe I've heard so much about," Kyra quipped, tossing her hair playfully. "Wine?" Tessa offered, her heart racing slightly as Kyra brushed past her. "Absolutely. I could use a glass after this week." As Tessa busied herself pouring wine into 2 glasses, she couldn't resist glancing at Kyra, who was now examining her bookshelves with a grin. "Nice collection. Do you have any fiction?" "Not really, I'm more into nonfiction and self-help. But there's a few light novels mixed in," Tessa admitted while handing her a glass. Kyra took a sip and grinned, her gaze lingering on Tessa's face. "We should swap recommendations. But first, tell me your favorite cocktail." I'd say a strong mojito. The way it feels on a warm night is just divine," Tessa replied, warmth spreading through her at the curiosity in Kyra's eyes. Kyra paused for a moment, her expression shifting with a playful intensity. "I bet you know how to whip one up, maybe we can make them together." Tessa's heart raced as she led Kyra to her tiny kitchen, an electric tension simmering in the air. They started gauging how to blend white rum, mint, and lime, their bodies brushing against each other from time to time. After some gentle laughter and a few failed attempts, they finally crafted the perfect mojito. "Cheers to a weekend of fun," Kyra said, raising her glass, and Tessa followed suit, relishing the moment as their eyes locked. After a few more sips of their drinks, Tessa felt a rush of bravery. "You know, you're pretty captivating, Kyra. I've really enjoyed getting to know you this week." Kyra leaned in, her breath warm against Tessa's ear. "I was thinking the same thing." Without further hesitation, Kyra closed the distance, capturing Tessa's lips in a sultry kiss. Tessa's heart jumped, and she surrendered willingly to the intoxicating moment. Their lips moved in perfect harmony as the kiss deepened, igniting a passionate flame between them. With a mischievous glint in her eye, Kyra broke away and took Tessa by the hand, leading her to the bedroom. Tessa could hardly believe the sudden turn of events, yet the thrill of it made her pulse quicken. In Tessa's bedroom, Kyra turned and faced her, their bodies inches apart. The tension was electric as they studied each other, hunger evident in their gazes. With a playful smile, Kyra took control, unzipping Tessa's fitted blouse and revealing lacy undergarments that made Kyra's breath hitch. "You're stunning," Kyra whispered, her fingers grazing over Tessa's skin. Tessa smiled shyly, feeling emboldened. Within moments, they were caught up in a whirlwind of passion, laughter, and exploration. Kyra's hands roamed freely, while Tessa explored the contours of Kyra's body with an eagerness she didn't know she possessed. "Just to let you know," Kyra giggled in between kisses, "I'm not here for just a one-night stand." Tessa's heart soared. "Good, because I wasn't either," she admitted, pulling Kyra closer. The playful banter and heated kisses continued, each moment punctuated by breathy giggles and soft moans. Hours melted away as they tangled together, bodies glistening under the soft glow of the bedside lamp, exploring all the pleasures each had to offer. Tessa felt invigorated, wrapped in Kyra's arms, and lost in the intensity of their connection. Eventually, they found themselves collapsed in a heap of blankets, breaths mingling in the comforting silence of the afterglow. Tessa turned to Kyra, who propped herself up on one elbow, a teasing smile on her face. "Ready for round 2?" Kyra asked playfully. "I think I can manage," Tessa replied, a confident grin spreading across her lips. They dove back into their passionate exploration, their laughter and playful teasing echoing through the apartment well into the night. By the morning, Tessa found herself wandering to the kitchen, sipping coffee and thinking how a simple weeknight turned into more than either could have expected. Kyra joined her, wrapping her arms around Tessa's waist, planting affectionate kisses on her neck. "So about those mojitos," she said cheekily, and Tessa could only chuckle, loving every second of this spontaneous weekend whirlwind. Tessa truly couldn't wait to see what else the weekend had in store. Kyra was definitely a woman she wanted to call again and again. Weekend Whirlwind, Part 2. As sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating their cozy space, Tessa felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her while she stirred her coffee. The blissful night they had shared with Kyra lingered in her mind, each memory sending delightful shivers down her spine. She turned to see Kyra, freshly dressed in a comfortable t-shirt and leggings, rummaging through the fridge for breakfast. "So what's the plan for today?" Kyra asked, glancing over her shoulder with a playful grin. "We could sit here and sip coffee until noon, or we could create some spontaneous adventure." Tessa chuckled, her heart racing at the sight of Kyra's exuberance. "How about a little of both? But let's start with food. I can whip up some pancakes if you can help me with toppings." "Oh, I'm all about the toppings," Kyra exclaimed with an enthusiastic nod. She sauntered over to the pantry and pulled out an assortment of fruits, blueberries, bananas, and even some dark chocolate chips. "You're definitely my kind of woman," Tessa said playfully, accepting the fruits with a wink. As they prepped breakfast together, they worked seamlessly, laughter punctuating their efforts. Once the pancakes were done, they piled colorful toppings high and settled at the sun-drenched dining table. With large bites of fluffiness and cheerful banter, each moment felt light and uplifting. Between bites, they shared stories, revealing pieces of their pasts and dreams for the future. "You know," Kyra said with an inquisitive look, "I've always wanted to take a spontaneous trip, just pack a bag and go somewhere unknown for the weekend." Tessa perked up. "That sounds amazing. I've wanted to do that too." "Let's do it, then," Kyra said, eyes sparkling with excitement. "We could hit the road after breakfast. What do you say?" Tessa felt a rush of adrenaline at the idea of a spontaneous road trip with Kyra. "I'm in. Let's just grab the essentials and go." After finishing their brunch and tidying up the kitchen, Tessa rushed to her bedroom, excitedly throwing clothes into an overnight bag while Kyra gathered up essentials like toiletries and snacks. The anticipation buzzed in the air, making their hearts race. Within an hour, they were packed and ready to go. Tessa slid behind the wheel of her trusty hatchback, with Kyra riding shotgun, a playlist of upbeat songs blasting through the speakers. The wind whipped through the open windows as they drove into the sun-drenched streets of the city, laughter exchanged alongside glances that promised more adventures ahead. "So, where to?" Tessa asked, glancing at Kyra with an eager smile. "Let's head toward the coast," Kyra suggested. "I've heard the beach town of Cape May is beautiful this time of year." "Perfect. Let's see if we can catch the sunset," Tessa replied, excitement bubbling within her. They made the drive along winding coastal roads, filled with beautiful scenery, the crashing waves on one side and rolling hills on the other. As they arrived in Cape May, the sun began to dip, painting the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. "Wow," Tessa breathed, stepping out of the car and taking in the view. "This is stunning. Just wait until we get to the beach," Kyra said, grabbing Tessa's hand and pulling her toward the sand. They left their bags in the car, eager to feel the ocean breeze. As they walked hand in hand along the shoreline, the cool sand beneath their feet felt grounding. Tessa laughed as a wave crashed near their toes, splashing them playfully. Kyra turned to her, mischief dancing in her eyes. "Let's get wet." Before Tessa could respond, Kyra dashed toward the water, giggling. Tessa chased after her, their laughter echoing as they splashed in the gentle waves. Soon, they were soaked, breathless, and completely immersed in the moment. When they finally slowed down, Tessa turned to Kyra, her heart pounding as she caught her breath. "This is one of the best days I've had in a long time." "I couldn't agree more," Kyra said softly, brushing a strand of hair away from Tessa's face. Their eyes locked and a shared intensity enveloped them, clearing the space around them. Before Tessa knew it, she was drawn into another passionate kiss, the ocean's breeze swirling around them as they melted together seamlessly. It was electric, the warmth between them deepening with every brush of their lips. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, bathing the beach in golden light, they moved away from the water and sat on the warm sand, side by side, taking in the beauty around them. The colors in the sky morphed into shades of purple and deep blue, each moment more breathtaking than the last. "Tessa," Kyra said, breaking the comfortable silence. "I didn't realize how much I needed this, just being free, living in the moment, you know. Especially with someone like you." Tessa felt her heart flutter at Kyra's words. "I know what you mean. I was nervous when I asked you to spend the night, but I couldn't have asked for anything better. You make me feel alive." With a hint of blush on her cheeks, Kyra nodded. "I'm so glad we met. This is just the beginning." They spent the last rays of sunlight sitting close to each other, talking about everything and nothing. They shared stories that left them giggling and moments that silenced them in awe. Each passing second deepened their connection, laying the groundwork for something meaningful. When the stars began to twinkle in the clear night sky, Kyra suddenly leaped up. "Come on. I saw a little cafe back there. Let's grab some coffee and pastries, then go back to the beach for a late-night stroll." "Okay, lead the way." Tessa laughed, standing up and brushing sand off her legs. As they explored the quaint beach town, they found a small cafe tucked on the corner, filled with warmth and the sweet aroma of baked goods. They chose an assortment of pastries, muffins, croissants, and sweet pastries stuffed with fruit, and savored each bite. Outside the cafe, they found a cozy bench and shared their treats under the night sky, the moonlight creating an enchanting silhouette of the town. "Tessa," Kyra said between bites of her raspberry croissant, "what's one place you've always wanted to visit?" "Honestly, Paris. I've always dreamed of wandering the streets, sipping coffee at a bistro, and exploring the culture." "What about you?" Tessa replied. "Greece has always fascinated me, those stunning beaches and ancient ruins. Maybe we could go together someday," Kyra suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I'd love that," Tessa said, savoring the prospect of future adventures. After they finished their pastries, Tessa stood up and pulled Kyra's hand playfully as they made their way back to the beach. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore filled the comforting silence between them. "Do you think we'll look back on this weekend and laugh at how crazy it was?" Kyra asked, her feet leaving imprints in the sand. "This moment feels perfect," Tessa replied, squeezing Kyra's hand tighter. "But I think looking back will only make us appreciate the adventure even more." They reached the shoreline, listening to the rhythmic sound of the ocean as they walked side by side, the cool breeze enveloping them. However, the warmth radiating from their closeness was undeniable. "Want to dip your feet in again?" Kyra teased as the water lapped at the shore. "Only if you join me," Tessa shot back, a playful challenge in her voice. With a laugh, Kyra took off her shoes and dashed into the water. Tessa followed suit, splashing into the waves as they enjoyed the night air and the thrill of being alive. By the time they returned to the car, their hearts were racing, and their smiles were effortless. Driving back to find a place to stay for the night, Tessa couldn't shake the feeling that this weekend was just the beginning of something wonderfully unexpected. As night fell, they settled into a charming seaside cottage, the gentle sounds of the ocean lulling them into a relaxing atmosphere. They settled into comfortable silence, sharing stories beneath the flickering light of candles. With the glow of the moon outside, Tessa turned to Kyra. Tonight was magical. I'm so glad you came into my life. I feel the same way, Tessa. Let's promise to keep this energy alive, wherever it takes us, Kyra whispered, her eyes sparkling with determination. I promise, Tessa declared, feeling a rush of excitement for the future. With their hearts light and hopes ignited, they curled up together, dreaming of the adventures yet to come, both knowing this weekend had created an unbreakable bond between them. Together they felt ready to face whatever the world had in store, one spontaneous moment at a time. Weekend Whirlwind, Part 3. As the light from the flickering candles danced off the walls of the cottage, Tessa and Kyra settled into the cozy space. Wrapped in a soft blanket on the couch, the intimacy of the evening enveloped them, and they exchanged playful glances that spoke volumes. Did you bring any books? Kyra asked, her head leaning against Tessa's shoulder, blissfully comfortable. Just my latest read. It's a mystery novel, think you'd enjoy it. Tessa replied, her voice a mix of lightheartedness and warmth. Absolutely. But only if I get to pick the next activity after, Kyra teased, propping herself up on one elbow, her expression flirtatious. All right, deal. Tessa laughed, reaching for her bag to retrieve the book. She began reading aloud, her voice calm and steady, letting the words come alive in the air between them. As the night wore on, the storyline flowed effortlessly, but Tessa found her attention drifting toward Kyra. She marveled not just at her beauty, but at the way her eyes sparkled with excitement, and how her laughter resonated, weaving a sense of shared adventure between them. Time seemed irrelevant, every word felt weighty, every moment extended in the lingering warmth of their blossoming connection. With the story coming to a close, Tessa set the novel aside. How about that late-night stroll we talked about earlier, she suggested, feeling a rush of thrill at the idea. Let's do it. Kyra beamed, her enthusiasm infectious. They stood up, throwing on light jackets as they stepped outside, the cool ocean breeze caressing their faces. The moon was full, casting a silvery glow on the beach that made it seem almost magical. They held hands, both sharing the joy of being together in this beautiful moment. As they strolled along the shore, waves gently lapped at their feet, the sound mingling with their laughter. They talked about everything, their dreams, aspirations, childhood memories, and their idea of love. Each confession brought them closer, the air thick with unspoken feelings that hung between breaths and touches. I've always believed that adventures are best shared, Kyra said, pausing to look deep into Tessa's eyes. That's why I'm so glad I took a leap of faith, and came here with you. Tessa squeezed Kyra's hand tighter. I feel the same. It's like we just clicked. I've never had this kind of connection with anyone. Kyra smiled, a mix of shyness and confidence in her gaze. What do you think might happen next for us? Do you think this is just a weekend fling? Tessa thought for a moment, her heart racing at the question. I don't want it to be. If I'm being honest, I've never felt this kind of spark with anyone before. If anything, I want to see where this might lead us. Kyra stepped closer, her breath warm against Tessa's cheek. So, are you saying we could explore this connection more seriously? The warmth on Tessa's cheeks grew as she nodded, a grin breaking across her lips. Absolutely, I'd love to see where this goes. With that, Kyra closed the distance, capturing Tessa's lips in a tender kiss that sent their hearts soaring. The kiss deepened as the waves crashed against the shore, enveloping them in the sounds of nature and passion. When they finally pulled away, they both wore glimmers in their eyes, filled with hope and promise. Let's make a pact, Kyra said, her voice playful yet serious. Every week, no matter how busy life gets, we find time for an adventure together. Even if it's just coffee or a stroll at the park. Deal, Tessa replied eagerly. I look forward to all our adventures, big and small. They walked hand in hand back to the cottage, feeling an electrifying sense of possibility saturating the air around them. Back inside, they cozied up on the couch again, the blanket wrapped snugly around their shoulders, sharing soft kisses and laughter as they reveled in each other's company. Hours passed, marked only by fleeting kisses and shared smiles, until they fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in warmth, the heartbeat of the ocean lulling them into a restful slumber. The next morning, Tessa awoke first, sunlight streaming gleefully through the window. She watched Kyra sleep peacefully beside her, a content smile gracing her lips. Feeling an urge to cherish the moment, Tessa quietly slipped out of the blanket, tiptoeing to the small kitchen to make coffee. As the aroma of fresh brew filled the air, Tessa couldn't shake the feeling of gratitude for what the weekend had brought her. The connection they had formed seemed so genuine and rare. She wanted to hold on to this feeling forever. A soft yawn broke her reverie, and she turned to see Kyra emerging from the bedroom, her hair slightly tousled and eyes half open. "Is that coffee I smell?" she asked groggily, but the twinkle in her eye betrayed her faux sleepiness. "Yes, and breakfast isn't far behind if you'll help me," Tessa replied, her heart skipping when she caught Kyra's gaze. "Sounds perfect," Kyra said with a smile as she joined Tessa in the kitchen. They poured steaming mugs of coffee, each sip fueling their morning conversation. Once they finished breakfast, Kyra turned serious. "Tessa, can we start planning our first adventure together for next weekend?" "I'd love that. What are you thinking?" Tessa asked, excitement building within her. "I've always wanted to drive up to that scenic overlook, the one where you can see the ocean for miles. And then maybe we can have a picnic," Kyra suggested, her eyes lighting up with the idea. "God, that sounds amazing. We should make it a thing to explore every corner of the coast," Tessa replied, enthusiasm radiating from her. As they finalized their plans, Tessa felt overwhelming joy blossom in her heart. What started as a one-night stand had transformed into an adventure of a lifetime, filled with laughter, love, and now endless possibilities. With their plans laid, they spent the rest of the day reveling in each other's company, their hearts tethered by the newfound connection that continued to grow. Each moment was a testament to their budding romance, something neither had expected but both embraced with open arms. By the time evening rolled around, they reluctantly packed their bags, leaving the cozy cottage behind. However, as they drove back to reality, laughter filled the car, curling around them like an embrace. Reaching Tessa's apartment, they took a moment before heading inside, the excitement of next weekend shimmering in the air. "Thanks for an unforgettable weekend, Kyra. I can't wait to see where this goes," Tessa said, sincerity radiating through her voice. "Me neither," Kyra responded softly, stepping forward to place a lingering kiss on Tessa's lips. "See you soon." "Absolutely," Tessa promised, watching Kyra drive off as she stood on her doorstep. Once inside, Tessa leaned against the door, her heart still racing. The weekend had shifted her life in a way she never thought possible. Smiling to herself, she took out her phone and texted Kyra, her fingers eager to bridge the gap between them until their next adventure. "Can't wait for our next adventure. You're already my favorite travel buddy. Red heart." As she hit send, Tessa felt grateful for this unexpected journey. Whatever lay ahead, she knew they'd be facing it together, one spontaneous adventure after another. And that thought alone made her heart soar. The end.